Sylvester Stewart, better known to the world as Sly Stone, was born on March 15, 1943 in Denton, Texas. He was raised in a deeply religious household and moved with his family to Vallejo, California when he was still a child. His parents were members of the Church of God in Christ, and gospel music was an early guiding force. The Stewart family was musical. Sly and his siblings played instruments and sang in church. From an early age, Sly's prodigious musical talent was evident. By age 7, he was already playing piano, guitar, bass, and drums. In his teens, he formed doo-wop groups and became a fixture in the Bay Area's musical community. One of his earliest successes came when he joined the Viscayans, a radically integrated vocal group that reflected the inclusive vision he would later bring to his most famous band. Sly studied music at Vallejo Junior College and worked as a disc jockey at the influential soul station KSOL, where he earned a reputation for wild, creative radio sets that ignored genre boundaries and blended gospel, rock, soul, and funk. As a producer for Autumn Records, he worked with local acts like the Beau Brummels, Grace Slick's early band. The Great Society. Sly was building both his chops and his mystique, and by the mid-1960s, he was ready to forge something entirely new. In 1966, Sly brought together a group of musicians that would become Sly and the Family Stone, a band that was not only racially integrated but also gender integrated, a revolutionary concept at the time. The core lineup included his brother Freddie Stone on guitar, sister Rose Stone on keyboards, Larry Graham on bass, Greg Errico on drums, and Cynthia Robinson on trumpet, among others. Together they crafted a sound that fused funk, soul, rock, psychedelia, and pop, laced with deeply political lyrics and ecstatic grooves. Their debut album, A Whole New Thing, came out in 1967 but didn't chart. It showcased a raw fusion of styles. The breakthrough came with their second album, Dance to the Music, in 1968, and especially the title track, a righteous call to joy and dance that climbed the charts. It marked the beginning of a run of groundbreaking hits that would define a generation. From 1968 to 1971, Sly and the Family Stone were one of the most innovative and exciting bands in America. Their 1969 album, Stand, was a milestone, featuring now classic tracks like I Want to Take You Higher, Everyday People, Sing a Simple Song, and Stand. These were not just songs, they were manifestos of peace, equality, and the transformational power of music. The band's performance at Woodstock in August 1969 was one of the most electrifying of the festival. Taking the stage at 3:30 a.m., they had the crowd of 400,000 dancing and chanting Higher in the mud. The moment cemented their place in counterculture history. At the heart of their appeal was Sly's genius as a band leader and producer. He was a pioneer of multi-track recording, often layering dozens of takes to create thick, groove-laden tracks. He pushed for innovation in both style and substance. The Family Stone's music was socially conscious, advocating for civil rights and racial harmony, most famously in Everyday People, with the timeless line, different strokes for different folks. But as the 1970s began, cracks started to appear. Fame, pressure, and heavy drug use took a toll on Sly. He began missing shows and tension within the band grew. His behavior became erratic and paranoid. Despite this, he produced his most ambitious and emotionally raw work, the 1971 album There's a Riot Going On. There's a Riot Going On was a dramatic departure. Gone was the sunny optimism. In its place were slow, murky grooves and lyrics that reflected disillusionment with the state of the world and with himself. The lead single, Family Affair, became a #1 hit, but the album was a haunting, troubled masterpiece. Many critics now consider it one of the greatest albums of the 20th century, a funkadelic response to the darkness that followed the utopian dreams of the 1960s. After that, the band began to unravel. Key members like Larry Graham and Greg Errico left. Sly hired new musicians and kept recording. Albums like Fresh in 1973 and Small Talk in 1974 had strong moments, but his creative energy was clearly waning. His live shows became unreliable. Drug use, especially PCP and cocaine, fueled increasing paranoia and isolation. By the late 1970s, Sly Stone had all but disappeared from public view. He made sporadic appearances, collaborated with George Clinton's Parliament Funkadelic, and even attempted comebacks, but nothing stuck. The man who had once defined the sound of a generation had become a recluse. He released his final studio album, Ain't But the One Way, in 1982, more of a contractual obligation than a true artistic effort. Still, his influence never disappeared. Artists across genres, Prince, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Outkast, D'Angelo, and Kendrick Lamar, have all drawn from Sly's fearless fusion of funk, soul, and political commentary. In the 2000s, Sly became a mysterious figure, a myth more than a man. He made a strange, brief appearance at the 2006 Grammy Awards, looking frail and distant, but it was a reminder that he was still alive. In 2011, he released an album, I'm Back, Family and Friends, which reworked his classics with guest artists, though it failed to gain much traction. He also faced legal and financial troubles. In 2015, a jury awarded him $5 million in unpaid royalties, although he saw little of the money. His story became a cautionary tale, a genius derailed by fame, addiction, and exploitation. But in 2023, after decades of silence, Sly Stone finally broke his own narrative. He released a long-awaited memoir, Thank You, written by Ben Greenman and published by Questlove's publishing imprint. The memoir is raw, strange, and deeply honest. In it, Sly reflects on his meteoric rise, his artistic innovations, and his long descent into drug addiction and solitude. It's not a tale of redemption in the conventional sense, but it is a story of survival and of owning one's legacy. Today, Sly Stone lives quietly, reportedly dealing with health issues but still fiercely private. He rarely appears in public, but his music lives on in samples, covers, tributes, and the DNA of modern pop and funk. Sly Stone didn't just reflect his era, he shaped it. He broke every rule, racial, musical, social, and rewrote the blueprint for what a band could be. At his best, he made music that sounded like a revolution and felt like a party. In his silence, he became a myth, but in truth, Sly Stone is something more complicated and more human. He's a visionary who flew too close to the sun and burned out, but left behind a body of work that continues to uplift, challenge, and inspire.